Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of our guide, 4 awesome ways to bulletproof your low back without exercising your low back. Here's how this goes. This part centers on the thoracic spine, and I sort of half-jokingly called this something like the forgotten middle child in our written form of our guide. And that resonates for a couple of reasons. One, in some sense, the thoracic spine is kind of the middle part of the spine. It's sandwiched between the low back and the neck. The other thing too is you don't hear about the thoracic spine that much when it comes to dysfunction in the body. Usually most people complain about pain, tightness, and that sort of thing in their neck and in their low back. The thing is, in both of those areas, and I would say in some sense, maybe in particular, the low back, dysfunction in the thoracic spine or a lack of tension production, a lack of ability to produce force in that area can contribute to tightness, pain, and dysfunction in the low back. So what I wanted to do in this section is just give you a really simple exercise progression to help mobilize, stabilize, and just work on the function of this area of the thoracic spine. Now, I'll say this from the beginning. If you have any sort of excessive kyphosis, which is kind of this sort of forward-leaning posture through the upper back, please make sure that you approach this very, very carefully, okay? And that, especially in the first part, you take note of how this function sort of goes. What I want you to do is very simple. You must do this sitting. I can't emphasize this enough. Sitting is of the utmost importance here. And what I want you to do is quite simply roll forward through your upper back and see how it goes extending through that same area of the spine. Now you might just think, well, that's kind of working on my low back, isn't it? Really, it's not, because this movement of the tummy backward and forward is more akin to movement in the low back versus if I bring my rib cage forward and backward. That's a very distinct, or at least a more distinct, upper back movement, okay? And what you can do is move into this range as much as you reasonably can and just hold the contraction and see how that resonates. Do a couple of reps of this, hold for a few seconds at the back, and if that all goes well, you can move on to part 2. Part 2 of this exercise progression simply involves adding a bit of resistance to the exercise. So one of the simplest and most accessible recommendations is just taking a light dumbbell. For me, this is a 12.5 pound dumbbell. It's fairly light. And I want you to hold it close to your body, okay? And from here, I want you to just do exactly the same thing. Sort of find your range at the back and then roll forward through that upper back area and come back into this extension piece again. Not only does this not need to go fast, I would strongly recommend against going fast for your safety and for the overall benefit of the exercise. Just easy does it. Work on that progression, see how it feels, see if it affects your lower back in a positive way, and see if it affects your body overall at the very least in a positive way, at the very least giving you an awareness of the distinction between movement of your upper back and movement and muscular contraction of your low back.